Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 9 of the U.S. Chess Championship 2016. This is the only decisive game. All the rest drew. My buddy Carl drew against Anashuk. I do have to say though, take that back, there was one win. Varakobian finally won a game, beating Shabalov. This game I picked out, of course, by far is the best game of the round. Let's get to it. As white, Alex Lenderman. Great player. I met Alex once. He's a very, very interesting character. I like Alex a lot. And as black, of course, Fabiano Caruana. Number 2, sometimes number 3 in the world. Leader in the tournament. Let's get to it. It's going to be a Queen's Gambit declined. Lenderman is white. Caruana is black. C takes. Pawn takes. The bishop. Kind of a semi-Slav setup. E3. He got the bishop outside the pawn chain, so now when he goes E3, doesn't blacken the bishop in this. Whoops, got a little wacky there. This bishop has free reign. Bishop F5, G4. This is all book. Knight D7. Now, according to the computer, that's the last book move. I doubt it, but Lenderman goes G5. H6 for Caruana. And a really interesting move here. Now, the computer likes knight to H3. About a quarter of a point, which is a lot for one move. Knight to F3, knight to H3. Alex, now G6 is coming up, and that's what Alex did. It's funny thing with these computers, I have it on off screen. I'm not really using the computer, I'm kind of using it as a guide. But a lot of the computers, you have to let it sit for a minute or two while it goes through all the variations. And it changes its mind quite often. F5, which, great move there. I like that a lot, even though that's not even the top 3 computer choices. Knight G to F6 is the first choice. Knight B6 and Queen B6, one of the 3. I like F5. Bishop to G3 for white. Let's go back here. I really don't like the knight to F6 move. I think F5 is much better. After pawn takes, check, bishop takes, I just don't like the situation. I think F5 is much better. It changes the whole complexion of the game. Bishop G3. Now the knight comes out. Knight H3, finally. And knight to B6. Looking maybe in the future at this really, really good square here. And on top of that, this knight's got a good square. Knight F4. He just brings the bishop back. He wants to keep that bishop. F3. I know it's guarding the E4 square, but you got to have a set out of you to do that. Castles for black. King F2. So he's kind of going to do is going to move his late squared bishop and his rook and kind of castle by hand, a weird version of it. Rook C8. The bishop D3. Now, I do want to say at the end of this video, there's a short interview with both Caruana and Lenderman. I didn't get a chance to get a video of it, but Caruana went into the, what they call the confessional booth. Where you go into a booth during the game and talk about the game, and pretty much around now is when he started saying that he thinks that Lenderman is not doing very well, even though the computer only shows a third of a pawn advantage. Positionally, he loves this a lot. Big advantage. C5. He moves the king even farther away from the danger. C takes, E takes, bishop D6. I think black sits here extremely well. And that's the thing with the computers. I'm looking off screen. It's less than a point advantage for black. But I think black sits here very, very well. Queen B3, ganging up on, that's the computer on the D5 pawn. King H8. Even though it shows it even, I think this is the beginning of the end for white. Bishop b5. He decided to take the knight instead. One of the most, as Maurice Ashley calls it, the most important exchanges in chess, a bishop for a knight. Bishop takes back. Knight h5. All of a sudden, White's king looks incredibly exposed. Look at all the pieces on the queen side. Not there to protect the white king. Bishop moves to e5. Looking really good there, but I'll be honest with you, it's not doing anything. It's out there all alone. It's got no help going against the king, so it looks more dangerous than it is. The bishop takes, knight, queen takes, knight c4. Hitting the bishop. Great square for that knight. You know, looking in the future, here. It's the end, I think, for white. I don't know how you can get out of this. Rook a to e1. Now, normally I wouldn't say that. With good play, I think white's got a fighting chance, but he's playing Caruana, who's playing really, really well. Interesting might have been instead king to f2. Then after knight takes, pawn takes, rook e8. Interesting. But after rook a to e1, knight takes. Now, what do you take with the rook, or do you take with a pawn? It's about 50-50 on the computer. He plays rook takes. Try to double him up on the e file. I can't blame him. Very human move. Queen f6. King just moves out of the way. Queen comes over. She was gonna go there anyway. Rook g1. Queen f6. He figures I'll just go back. But now it's knight to f4. And things are starting to look serious here against white. Well, for starters, this queen is stuck guarding this square because of this. It's just a tough position. So I'll show you what. I'll give Alex. He made the best move, even though it's really dangerous. He went king to e3. Knight goes back to g6, hitting that h-pawn twice. He's going to lose it. Rook takes the pawn. Knight takes. Now, this is where I think Alex mixed cues. I think Lenderman's lost anyway. But he's pushing. He's just rolling the dice. I mean, he's, throwing some spaghetti against the wall and hope some of it sticks. He should have went king to d3. Computer likes queen to f1 probably for defense. King to f2. King to d3. Get the king out of the way. He went rook d7. And it's an over 3-point advantage now for Caruana. Queen checks. King to d3. Now watch this king walk. Knight takes. Rook to d1. Queen goes there. I mean, look at this king. The rook's bearing down here. Pawn's guarding this spot. Queen's guarding all these squares. Where's he going to go? Takes the pawn. Rook comes over. Now, what are you going to do? Black's with a rook. Rook just goes to b8. Queen goes to c6. Rook e to d8. What's he gonna go? I mean, he's busted. King to c4. Rook takes. Check. King has to go to c5. Rook takes. Knight takes. Queen to g1. Now, before that move, I have to say, it was about a 20-odd point advantage on the computer. I don't think I've ever seen the computer go up that high before. Queen to g1. Queen to c4. And queen to d4 mate. Now, I do have to say, Alex, of course, saw the mate. He thought that Caruana played so well that he deserved the mate. He wasn't trying to be a snot and hang on till the end like some players do. That was actually a tip of the hat to Caruana for doing that. So good sportsmanship on Alex's part. And there's the only, well, I should say, game that matters in the standings in the U.S. Chess Championship 2016, round 9. I hope you enjoyed it. 2 rounds to go. It's going to be tough for my buddy Akaro to come back, but he's still within striking distance. Anything can happen. 2 more rounds to go. And as I always say, remember, folks, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
So
even worse.
My bad, Alex. I apologize.
It's okay.
Put your glasses on. It's okay. You can relax. We've got Alex here. Alex, today you played a very enterprising opening line. Could you have imagined it would have rebounded against you so quickly, playing aggressively against this strong player?
Oh, it happens sometimes like that. You know, you take a risk like that when you play principled. Sometimes it just happens. You know, that won't stop me necessarily from playing like that again. I think games like that will make you learn. I mean, in my situation, okay, I could have played something more safe against the Queen's Gambit declined, but I mean, I didn't really see a huge point of just making a dull draw at this point. I mean, I'm at -1, and you know, I felt like, you know, maybe I'll have chances today either way, and I still wanted to make it an interesting tournament. And I figured Fabiano might not necessarily take so much risks today because I think Wesley and Hikaru have quite difficult schedule as well. And he was black and he was playing solidly throughout. But yeah, and I thought I remembered the line, but he played this new move F5.
Right, F5 is a completely new move from what we found.
And yeah, I didn't know this move. And it basically changes the whole character of the battle. And I figured objectively I should be somehow slightly better, but I guess I just didn't figure out the way, and it was a type of position that he just understood better than me, and that's why he deservedly won the game.
When he played F5, what's going through your mind? You say, okay, that's out of my preparation, but at the same time, are you thinking, this is inside of his preparation, something he's looked at? Am I in trouble? How do you adjust to circumstances once a move like this has been played?
Well, I certainly didn't think I would be in trouble. I thought in worst case scenario, it's an unclear position. I thought best case scenario, it's slightly better for me. As a matter of fact, I think Fabiano had a game against Anish in the candidates where he played quickly and confidently, but it turned out that the variation is objectively worse for black. I mean, sometimes there's a lot of bluffing in chess, and I figured this actually might be one of these cases to try to get a game and try to get me out of preparation. It's just, as it happened throughout the whole tournament, I wasn't able to find this way. It's, you know, this period of time between move 10 and 20, like right out of my prep, is where I've really struggled this tournament and throughout my career. And unfortunately, people are getting used to me by now, and I'm starting to become too predictable. And if I really want to make an improvement in my career, I have to do something about it. And also, my sense of danger has let me down quite a bit in this tournament. Early on in the tournament and in this game also, I didn't realize that there would be so much potential danger in this position. I thought it's a positional closed game, but suddenly a couple of inaccuracies in my game just went quite badly right away.
Were you shocked when you saw how quickly he did go? He took on F4, suddenly his pieces were just streaming in.
Well, I already realized after he played King H8, a simple quiet move, that suddenly my pieces are just not making any sense, and suddenly he has just so much ideas, like bishop takes F4, knight E4. I can't even go knight E2 because my queen is getting trapped. No, he just completely outplayed me. It happens.
Well, we thank you so much for that frank assessment, and we look forward to you working on your game and taking it to the next level.
Thank you. This tournament's been very useful for me. And of course, the last move I wanted to let him mate me on purpose.
Oh. We know that's something that Jennifer Shahadi really likes, and we appreciate the sportsmanship on your part.
Because I thought he played a really good game, so.
Fantastic sportsman, Alexander Lenderman. That's why not every day you get to checkmate on the board, but I think Fabiano wouldn't have cared if he resigned, toppled over his king, or whatever he did in this position. You did win a fine game. You went into the confession booth and explained why it was that he had such a bad position. You must have been really confident at that point.
Yeah, after King H8, I just didn't see a move for him.
It looks like he wants to look at the moves. You did explain everything at King H8. You had the threat of knight e4,
Yeah,
bishop f4.
I think queen d3 is just an awful move. I think he has to play queen d2, which actually has a clever point, because if queen d2, bishop f4, knight h5 looks attractive at first, but I think that bishop takes h6 is extremely annoying, because I can't take, and if queen c7, there's queen g5 or knight e2.
So you can't take because of queen takes on h6, attacking the knight.
Yeah, knight f6
and enough annoying threats.
Well, his pawns are going to probably win. I don't know if there's a clear win, but let's say I didn't want to go for this.
Gotcha.
So I was going to play something like knight c4 instead of bishop f4. He has to take. I can take with the rook or with the pawn. Both are interesting. Probably the pawn is better.
So he should have kept his queen
Yeah.
connected to that king side, but instead he went off on b3, and that just took it out of the game.
Yeah, it looks like almost a losing move, or at least practically speaking, a losing move, because after king h8, it just knight e4 is a devastating threat. Besides that, I always have the idea of bishop takes f4, knight h5, and I might even throw a knight c4 in at some point.
And all this happened in the game. He played, his next move was, in fact, bishop to b5. This one must have pleased you as well, getting a chance to get rid of a few pieces out of the way.
I know, I was really happy to trade bishops, because now, after knight c4, he can't take with his bishop, and the knight is, well, the knight on c4 is extremely strong. If knight takes b5 also, knight c4 was strong.
Same deal.
Or rook c6, I mean, there's just so many moves here. Rook c6 or knight c4 both.
Now this f5 move you played, had you prepared it?
A long time ago I analyzed it, about 2 years ago. And then I kind of stopped playing this variation. It's not a great, I mean, it's not like a great idea. It doesn't give black anything special, just a slightly worse position. I mean, well, I can play like h5 and then f3, bishop d3, knight e2. And most likely black will just have to suffer for a while.
But you were willing to go into the suffering variation because what?
I don't know. I had a feeling that the position would be complicated enough that I didn't have so much to worry about. And it's very difficult for white to keep control and improve his position. And in my old analysis, I analyzed this with Rustam Kazimjanov. We decided that although white has a slight advantage, it's not more than that, and black should be able to defend it. And again, if white gets ambitious at some point, which I thought he might, then black can get chances to win, which is what happened.
So that's an interesting analysis. Don't necessarily play the objectively best move. Play a move that keeps the game interesting. You might be a little bit worse, but it's complicated enough that the person may mess up.
No, I had noticed in a few of his games that in these types of closed maneuvering positions he sometimes struggles, which was just a thought, but it seems like in this game as well he kind of misplaced his pieces a bit. Actually, I wanted to point out a funny moment after I played rook fe8. I was really on move 34. Yeah, I think probably there's just anything is winning, but I was so happy at this point because I thought he'll maybe play like queen takes f5, and I'll have the opportunity to play queen d2, rook d2, knight e1.
Oh, look at that. Jennifer Shahadi's mate. She did point this one out. Queen takes f5 was actually a main variation.
Which is not the only way to win, but it is one of the prettiest mates I've probably ever seen. And I was really happy and then disappointed when he played rook c7.
Yeah, when you play rook b8, Jennifer pointed out queen c4 would give the same helpmate variation, but it looks like that move would have kept it clear. You are now in clear first. Wesley drew quite quickly in his game. No one can catch you. Must be gratifying to win with the black pieces.
Yeah, I'm really happy with this result. I mean, he actually doesn't lose very often. He's quite a solid player with a well-thought-out repertoire, so it's not easy to win, and I managed to do it, I think, quite smoothly and in quite a well-played game, so I'm very happy with the result.
2 rounds to go. Where do you see yourself in this championship?
I still think that, I mean, anything can happen. First place is pretty much up for grabs, but I'm very satisfied with my situation.
Well, thanks so much for entertaining us, which was a fine game, and